Alright, so some of you have asked questions about the assignment for Activity 1 and how to use the website, being confused about how to actually fill in that table. So that's what this video is going to go over. You'll first need to go ahead and make your own copy of the assignment, and it should prompt you to do that when you open it. Don't worry about changing the name because you're just going to share it with us here using this blue button. Okay. Now the background and the objectives and the procedure kind of explain what this website is having you do, but we'll go through at least how to fill out the first part of the table below. So your website is here, and what I suggest is maybe using a split screen, which is what I'm going to do. If you have access to be able to print off the paper, you can do that, or you can write your data by hand and then type it in later. I'm going to use a split screen, which is an app that you can put on your computer. Okay. All right. So your procedure: choose a mutation to investigate by clicking the arrow at the bottom of the mutations window. Alright, so when I toggle over here, this is your mutations window. And when you click on it, it gives you three options: mutation 1 for large body, long legs, mutation 2 for small body, white fur, or mutation 3 for claws for climbing. Click the arrow at the bottom of conditions and select condition. So it's not going to let you select a condition until you select a mutation, so we'll go ahead and select mutation number 1. And then your conditions, you have two choices: either condition A, which is a new predator has entered your environment, or condition B, your environment has restricted food. Okay? And then once you have clicked a mutation and a condition, you're going to click Begin Natural Selection for it to populate. After it populates, which we'll do that in a second, you'll click Population Graph to open the entire population's changes over 5 generations. There is a yellow line that represents your mutated animals. So for this one, our mutated animals will be those with the large body, long legs. And then there's a blue line which represents your normal animals. And then in Table 1, you are going to put in your data. Okay, so we'll go ahead and scroll down to Table 1. Alright, now the confusing part is just what all this means right here and what numbers you're actually going to put in. So for these first 2 rows, you'll notice that it says 1A. So the number represents your mutation, the letter represents your condition, and then normal versus mutant is going to represent those lines. Remember, we said yellow is mutant, blue is normal, and then you're going to use the numbers for each generation to put into your data table. Okay, so mutation 1, new predator, begin natural selection, and then population graph. Okay, now again, blue is for normal. So you're just going to look at this line and you're going to put in those numbers. So these are your numbers of animals over here on the left of your graph, and then the generation is down at the bottom. Okay, so for generation 0, normal, I had 50. Generation 1, for normal, I had about 43. Generation 2, normal, I had about 37. Okay, so I'm just going to go over here to my table and type that in. So 50, 43, 37, generation 3, there was 30, generation 4, about 21, generation 5, we'd say about 19. Okay, now for some of these, if you're not exactly sure, just as long as you're close, so you should see a trend. If you notice on our graph, the blue line, our normal population, is going down, as in we are decreasing in the number of animals over each generation because of this new predator condition. Okay, so as long as your table shows that your numbers are going down, then you're fine. Okay, so your numbers, we're not going to grade you based on if you put 37 or 38. Okay, so don't worry about that part. Now the next line in my graph said 1A mutant. So you're gonna fill out 2 rows at a time because your graph is showing 2 sets of data. Okay, so we won't move on to the 3rd row until we fill out the 2nd row. Alright, so now I'm gonna look at that orangish yellow line for mutated animals. Generation 0, there was 10. 1, we'll say 18. 2, we'll say about 21. 3, maybe about 23. 4, let's say 28. And then 5, we had a pretty significant jump, and we'll say about 39. Okay? So again, as long as the trend is the same, those numbers should be going up. Alright, so as long as your table shows that in generation 1, my numbers went down, or for normal animals, they went down, mutated, they went up. Alright, now the next 2 rows, we're going to do those at the same time. Okay, so you're going to hit close. Or now we're going to leave this at 1, because remember the number represents your mutation. And then we're just going to change our condition, because the letter represents your condition. Okay, so B for condition. So now our condition is restricted food. All right, begin natural selection. Population graph. And you're going to do the same thing. So you're going to plug in those numbers. So if I'm looking at normal, that's that blue line. We start at 50. Let's say I went to about 48. Then 41. And I'll say 32. 28. And then let's say like 19. Okay, now 1B mutant, we'll say 10, and then we'll say 12, generation 2, about 19, generation 3, let's say about 27, 4, I'd say about 34, 5, 40. Okay. And then same thing, as you keep going, you'll do 2 at a time. Number represents your mutation. Letter represents your condition. So you're going to be filling in 2 rows at a time because your graph shows 2 sets of data. So I'm going to close this out and let's look at this table. So if we go back to the first 2, remember we said that our condition was a new predator. Mutation was long body, long legs. So over time, this new predator, our normal animals went down. So what do you think that means? We could infer that, well, the new predator obviously is eating these normal animals. That's why they're decreasing. But our mutated animals, they're going up. So obviously the predator is having better access to the normal animals than the mutated ones with long body, long legs. So this mutation has actually helped those animals, maybe because the long body, long legs has helped them escape that predator. And so the ones that survive pass that trait on to the next generation. And so over time, if the condition doesn't change, then our normal animals will deplete altogether, as in we won't have any more, and all you're going to be left with are these long leg, long body, okay? And then that would cause that predator to have to adapt to be able to catch those animals. All right, now here we said long body, long legs, but our condition was restricted food. So again, our normal population has gone down, maybe not as significantly, but it has still gone down. And our mutated population is going up. So we could infer here that maybe that mutation, the long body, long legs, allows those animals to get to the food quicker, or maybe because their legs are longer, they can reach other food better. So again, this mutation is helping that organism survive to the next generation because it's better adapted to that condition or the restriction that's happening. Okay, so as you go through this table, again, the number represents your mutation, and then the letter represents your condition, and you're going to fill in 2 rows at a time. So you're going to have mutation 2, condition A, which is a new predator. And then after that population graph, you're going to do mutation 2 again, but you're going to change the condition to restricted food. And then you're going to do the same thing for the third mutation. So mutation number 3, new predator, and then mutation number 3, restricted food. And you're going to use that table to answer questions kind of like what we just discussed. All right, so like number 1 says, look at the information that you recorded for a particular mutation condition combination. Describe how the population of animals have changed over time. So kind of like the description that we did for these two, except you're going to look at the table as a whole. Using your understanding of natural selection, explain why that population changed the way it did. Remember, natural selection is kind of like survival of the fittest, those animals that survive to the next generation. Why did that happen? Now number 3, invent a new type of mutation and a new environment. So here you're going to have to come up with something on your own. So a new mutation and a new environmental condition. So remember, we used long body, long leg. Okay, you could use any type of mutation for an organism that would help it. So maybe like change in fur color, or can see better at night. Okay, some kind of nocturnal vision. Just some new type of mutation that we didn't discuss here in your lab, and then a new environmental condition. Okay, so think something outside of that organism. So we said a new predator and restricted food. So your new environmental condition could be heavy rainfall, or no rain, or some type of weather condition, or something that's affected their environment. Maybe all the trees are gone, or a certain type of bug has evolved. So some new type of environmental condition that would affect a population of animals, and then just give a brief description of how natural selection would change that population over time. Okay, so this one is going to be pretty specific to you, so we should see quite a few different answers. Okay, we do read your answers, so please try not to just share your Google Doc and use the same thing as a buddy. Scientists have discovered by looking at fossil records that the ancestors of giraffes have shorter necks than giraffes today. Make a hypothesis, so remember, hypothesis is an educated guess, about how long necks could have evolved through the process of natural selection. So in other words, they used to have shorter necks than they do now. Why do you think that is? Okay, just give a brief statement. All right, and then that is it for activity 1 for this. Okay, so I hope that helped. If not, if you still have questions, please email us, reach out, send a remind, and we'll see what we can do for you.